The Abia State chapter of the Young Progressive Party, YPP, has petitioned the Inspector General of Police over the denial of its members in Injiko Umuna Autonomous Community in Osisioma local government area to hold party meetings due to disruption by some community leaders, including one Chief John Elijah, who is contesting the traditional rulership position of the area.
Well, a lawyer to the YPP in Abia State, Nnamdi Nwokocha Ahiwe, in a letter urged the police to ensure that their party members are not intimidated by agents of the state government. In a video circulated by executives of the party, some people are seen disrupting arrangements for a gathering set to take place. One of the accused individuals, John Elijah, could also be heard shouting and threatening YPP members with a promise to kill anyone who defies his order to vacate the said premises immediately. While the party's ward leaders accused Elijah of opposing any meeting by opposition parties other than the ruling People's Democratic Party in Abia State because it might jeopardize his chances of clinching the traditional stool.
One problem with that.
I am not against whatever anybody is doing. Since you want to spoil my home and indict me, go to your father's house and do your meeting. If I leave this place and meet you here when I return, if I don't shoot someone here, know that my name is not Italian.
Well, joining us now for a discussion on voting in a volatile environment are Dr. Kabiru Adamu, a security expert and CEO of a security firm, Beacon Consulting, and Bestman Eruba, YPP State Publicity Secretary in Abia State. Well, first, let's set the stage with Dr. Kabiru Adamu. I mean, you have from time to time given appraisals of where Nigeria's security is. As we inch towards the 2023 elections, how much of a concern about Nigeria's state of insecurity is it to you, especially when we hear from the DSS and different groups, including the UK? They have expressed concerns about Nigeria's the 2023 election if the security situation is not handled quickly.
Thank you, Ngozi and Adesua. Good evening. Yes, the current situation in the country gives room for concern. As you're aware, the 6 geopolitical zones all have threat factors that are quite worrisome and to an extent would definitely affect the integrity of the elections. Now, having said that, it's also important to mention that the federal government has demonstrated that it's aware of these issues and that it's attempting to address them. So as an example, we know that INEC has the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, and we know that that committee has been quite active. It's been going around the country. One of the co-chairmen of that committee, the Inspector General of Police, has been going around the 6 geopolitical zones, holding meetings, training sessions, making the security operatives understand the content of the new Electoral Act vis-a-vis their role in providing security during elections. The Office of the National Security Advisor is conducting assessment to understand how these threat factors will play out. So all of these are encouraging factors. And I must also say, in the aftermath of the Kuje incident, we have seen an increase in security forces operations across the country with acclaimed success, actually. In the Northwest, we've seen the killing of several factors, threat elements, including the bandits and some of the terrorists that are operating there. In the Northeast, the same thing. In the Southeast, we've also seen a reduction in the targeted attacks against INEC facilities. We saw that at the early stages of the year. So all of these are indicators that there is progress. But it is definitely a very concerning element. Now, in election risk management, after you've identified the threat, you also identify the risk. And currently, we're seeing some emerging risk. The video you showed with the YPP, and I'm sure my co-discussant would talk about that, it's a reflection of developments we've seen across the country. A similar thing happened in Gombe. I think in Kano State as well, and several other parts of the country where the instrument of state has been used to suppress the opposition. Now, if I'm going to borrow from the previous conversation between Adio and Mahmoud, the more the incumbent parties in a particular state view their chances as being slim, the more the likelihood that they're going to use the instrument of state to suppress the opposition. So all these are threat risk elements that we need to, as a country, understand.
I mean, and this comes barely 24 hours after President Muhammadu Buhari says he would not let politicians intimidate Nigerians at this poll. But in this case, in Abia State, it seems to be a traditional ruler. Mr. Bestman, come into this conversation. What exactly played out in that video? What was happening?
Well, it is a sad day for an nascent democracy, as some of the things we see are very, very unfortunate. What played out in that video is very, very condemnable. Somebody who is contesting to be a traditional ruler in a community is expected to display the highest level of chastity as somebody who should be custodian of tradition and custom, not to be somebody who is a warmonger or somebody who wants to cause disorder in the society. So you see the exposition that we have put into as a growing political party, but we have been guided by caution as a law-abiding political party to continue to obey the law, and that's why we've petitioned the perpetrators.
What was his grouse? What happened?
His grouse is that he feels that the meeting of YPP in his territory will endanger his chances of emerging as a traditional ruler of the community. And so in furtherance of perpetuating the government in power, he feels that if he stops the YPP from holding their meeting in his domain, in his purported domain, because he has not even become the traditional ruler of that community, he will lose his chance of becoming the traditional ruler. So he went about threatening everybody, you know.
Kabiru Adamu, I wonder what you make of this, where the traditional institutions, you know, to a large extent are relied on to ensure the security of their domains. But apparently, well, based on what, you know, Bestman is saying here, that the traditional ruler himself seems to be a stakeholder. He has a stake to protect. I mean, he's not yet a substantive traditional ruler. What exactly does that portray to you? Is it a culture of impunity that's rubbing off across all sectors? How do you deal with this at that level so it doesn't even get out of hand?
So it is a risk factor ahead of the 2023 elections, and in the identification of external risk factors, I'm hoping that INEC will take this seriously. And this is actually embedded in our constitution. The fact that these traditional rulers are, well, as it were, appointed by state governors, and so their loyalty to a larger extent is with the state government. Of course, where they are seen not to be loyal to the state government, they are likely to lose their seats. So where a traditional ruler, for instance, puts his appointment over and above his service to his people, then it's likely to kowtow towards the government in power, the case may be. But I must say that several traditional rulers across the country have proven to be above this. They've shown, you know, a neutrality that is commendable, and it must be encouraged. But I think since there are, you know, levels, as it were, in traditional rulership, the higher the level, the more the likely the neutrality. As you go lower, you know, the wrong, then you are likely to see this kind of influence, because of course they are interested in retaining those seats. Again, it's a risk factor that INEC would need to address. But in terms of what INEC has done in the past and what I'm hoping it would do in 2023, they are members of the Interagency Consultative Committee at the state level, and I think at the local government level too, depending on their position. So bringing them on board, making them understand their role, especially the importance of neutrality in that role, I think is the way to go. And like I said earlier on, INEC is already doing that, engaging with the people through this committee and several other platforms. The role of the National Peace Committee is also very instrumental. Of course, one of the significant members of that committee are traditional rulers. So using that platform to reach out to.
All right, best man. I mean, you've said you've petitioned the Inspector General of Police. Has there been a response, and what has been the situation since this incident? Is YPP deterred from holding further meetings? Have you been able to even congregate? How has it affected your party?
Well, it's an unfortunate situation, but the YPP more than ever before has been strengthened by the fact that if we are the people that they are looking for to stop from holding our meeting, it means we are gaining ground and the victory is sure. So we have not been dampened, our morale has been raised, and we expect that the civil authorities, especially the security agencies, will do the needful according to the provisions of the law to protect citizens who do not take to arms, who believe in the constitutionality of our country and who continue to be law-abiding citizens. So Nigeria is not a banana republic. We believe that the constituted authorities will do their work, and we will also continue to do our work as a political party, which is to enlighten our people and provide credible alternative to the government in the state that we want to vote out very soon in 2023.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there. Kabiru Adamu, security expert, thanks for giving us your perspective. And best man, Eruba, YPP State Publicity Secretary, thank you so much and we wish you the very best.